Hey guys, gals, and NBs. I'm here today with the Strymon Big Sky MX, and I put up a poll asking which synth I should use with this tutorial video, and it looks like the TEO-5 won out over the Peak, but not by very much, by 1 percentage point, at least by the time I was starting this video. Anyway, let's just get into it. What I'm going to do today is make a few patches on the Big Sky MX, maybe to show you around what you can do with it and how I like to use it. So we're going to use an init patch here on the Big Sky, so you can just go ahead and navigate to one of the higher ones here. I don't know when it stops. I think what happens is they are all blank after a certain amount. It might be in a different bank or something, but whatever. Just navigate with the value knob until you reach, let's just say 100A or something, unless you already have some patches on there. And by default, the init patch uses the cloud algorithm, which is really cool. We're going to use the cloud a lot. I mean, don't complain that I'm going to use the cloud a lot, because I'm going to use the cloud a lot. So yeah, so a init patch kind of sounds like this, or a empty patch. We're going to bring down the octave over here. Right, so by default, I mean, just out of the box with an init patch, the thing sounds phenomenal. All right, the first one we're going to do, I call Tokyo Nights. It's going to be kind of a, oh, you'll hear. So the first algorithm that I actually want to use for this is Bloom. We're going to use Bloom. We're going to turn the decay up. We want to turn the decay quite high. Let's say about, right around there. So 10,000 milliseconds or so. It'll just go on forever and ever. But then we want to turn up the modulation quite a lot. All right. And then we want to click the value here. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and make sure that the length, actually the length controls parameter 2, so we don't have to worry about that. But we're specifically going into the menu here, because we're going to go ahead and choose feedback. We're going to turn the feedback to around 10. And we're going to turn the harmonics up. So this is going to sound kind of pitch shifty. Isn't that amazing? It sounds really cool. We're going to turn down the mix just a little. And we're going to crank the tone down. The tone is it seems to be like a high pass filter, low pass filter, and when it reaches the low pass state, it seems to have some resonance to it. I mean, it's already sounding amazing right there, but why stop there? Because we have 2 reverb algorithms, or 2 reverb engines that can run at the same exact time. Probably because there's a multi-core processor in there, they can run one algorithm on one core and one on the other. So that's pretty cool. So let's get out of this menu, and we want to go ahead and press the main encoder here for the machines, or I'm going to call them algorithms. They call them machines, I believe, still. And we want to turn this to series. See how it is now? By default, it's off. Reverb 2 is off, but we want to go into series mode into 2, and 2 is going to be cloud. So basically, we're taking Bloom into cloud. So yeah, Bloom into cloud. All right, so for cloud, we want to turn the decay up to probably around, let's just say 8,000 milliseconds, somewhere around there. And then we want to turn the modulation up a little bit past noon there, maybe 1 o'clock or so. And we want to turn the tone also down a little bit from the default, so probably around there. Yeah, so that sounds just amazing. The other thing we can do here with the cloud algorithm, click the value knob here, so we're in the menu. We probably want to go ahead and turn up the diffusion. No, not just probably, we're going to want to all the way. All right, so. All right. Let's go ahead and click this to go back to the Bloom algorithm. And we're going to use parameter 1 here to turn up the low end response. I want to turn it up to around 12, especially if you're going to use something bassy in it. Now listen to this. Can add a little more modulation. But there we go. We have Tokyo Nights, and I'm glad that the TEO-5 was picked out of my poll. I was really hoping. The peak, you could have did this with too, but I wanted to have something that really made that nice synthwave style sound, and the Oberheim sound kind of lends itself to that, especially the filter with high resonance. And the first patch we're using here, it's an Oberheim, has that. Let's listen to a pad with that. It sounds pretty cool too. So it has that really crystalline style like sound. It sounds so clean and nice, and it has those extra harmonics to it, which really lend itself to like a synthwave thing. All right, let's go ahead and what do we want to do now? We're gonna do like a fantasy style patch that's good for fantasy things. So we're gonna move over here. We're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna move over to B. This is gonna switch to a different preset, and it's blank in this case. And I'm using my flute patch. And this is going to use cloud basically into shimmer. Or no, actually in this case, it's going to be cloud into bloom. I'm sorry. For some reason I have shimmer on my head, but yeah, we'll do that in another patch. But yeah, so I don't know what I'm going to call this. It's like, I don't know, fantasy forest, something like that. So let's go ahead and turn up in the cloud algorithm. I want to turn up some modulation. Let's turn up the mix so we can really hear what's going on. We'll tailor the mix later. Okay, maybe a little less. That's a good amount of mod. Let's go ahead and use this. I don't think one of these is set. No, it isn't. Okay. We want the low end all the way down in this one. Click here. We're going to go ahead and go to diffusion. And we're going to turn diffusion all the way up. Again, I love diffusion up on this algorithm. I want to turn the tone down just a hair from the default. All right. Cool. Let's make sure pre-decay lays down, and it is. And let's add a lot of time. Let's go about 10,000 milliseconds again. That's really nice, isn't it? All right, so now we're going to add another algorithm to it. We're going to add bloom, and it's going to be cloud into bloom other than bloom into cloud like we had before. So we're going to do serial again, our series into this, and we want to choose bloom. And we are going to just, we're going to turn this all the, well, no, we'll go ahead. Let's do it around 5,000 milliseconds. We're going to use a lot of feedback. And what we want to do in this algorithm, we want to turn the length all the way up. So we're in the bloom, parameter 2 is length. By default, you can, I believe, no, I'm pretty sure you can change what they do by, in your patch. All right. So what we want to do here in the bloom algorithm is we want to bring the tone down a little. Go into the value mode here, or the menu for this. So the value knob, click it down. We're going to turn the feedback up to around 12. We're not going to use the harmonics on this, and we're not going to use the ensemble. We want to bring the modulation up a little, maybe, on the bloom algorithm as well. Okay, and now it sounds a little ringy, but that's because our mix is a little high. So let's bring down the mix and do it to taste, of course. Okay, so we're in the bloom algorithm. We want to bring the mix down in the 70s. And now we want to swap back over to the first one. And we want to bring the mix down here as well. All right, go back to the bloom, bring the mix up on the bloom a little. We don't want this to be overbearing, but we want it to go on for days and days. So it needs to sit behind the sound, but it doesn't need to become overbearing. All right, that's a little too much modulation on bloom. Let's bring it down. I'm listening to it right now. I hope you're listening to this on like good headphones or like good studio monitors or something. But yeah, there's still a tad bit too much modulation on the cloud algorithm. So let's swap over by clicking down on the machines knob or the algorithms knob. Bring down the mod a little here too. Let's use my cascading flutes patch, which I put under 2. All right, I think that sounds pretty dang good. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Let's go over and listen to. I'm gonna turn off the effects here, but this is the Chinese style zither patch that I made in a previous video. Yeah, that sounds pretty badass in my opinion. We're going to use that patch, and we're going to make another one here. So let's go ahead and exit out of this. Actually, we're already where we need to be. Never mind. Let's go ahead and go into another blank one. And this is going to be called like Weird Planetarium. You're going to hear why. It's going to have a weird reverse echo at the end of it. So it'll be pretty cool. So this is one of the few where I'm not going to use cloud or bloom at all. We're going to go into Hall, and let's shape the Hall algorithm first. This is kind of like a lexicon Hall. It's not a realistic Hall. It has two modes. It has a concert Hall, which is the default. So if you go in here, and it has a arena. We're going to use the concert hall. The arena doesn't actually sound as massive as you would think it was, probably because it's more open and doesn't have any, like, in the algorithm, if you were picturing a space, the arena probably has less walls closer to where your sound source is to reflect off of. So it actually sounds smaller. I don't know how else to put it. So yeah, in the menu here, what we want to do is just, actually we don't want to do anything. I was just kind of showing you. We're going to use the standard controls here. So we have low end and mid. And we want to turn the mids up a little here. It's pretty subtle as default, but we want to bring up the mix, so. And let's bring up the decay quite a bit. We can bring it up to pretty high, 12,000. It's a really nice sounding lexicon style hall in my opinion. So at least I think that's what they were emulating. Let's turn the modulation up quite a bit though. Turn down the mids just a little. Turn the tone down just a hair. We could add a little more decay. All right. Yeah, so here's where the fun's going to come. We're going to go ahead and we're going to feed this into an impulse response. All right, so let's go over here to the impulse response. And what we want to do is we want to choose the value here. And we want to choose the impulse. And specifically, we want to use, it's towards the bottom here. Yes, it's this. It's the Elveden Hall or something like that. It's someplace in England, right? I guess. I looked it up. I don't know how it's pronounced, but it's that. So we want to click that. And now we want to go back a page. And what we want to do is we want to turn the attack up to around 4. And one of the cool things you can do on this is you can stretch out the impulse response. So even if it's a short impulse response, this is going to be 4 times, I believe. And we want to have, I don't think we want to really do anything else besides change the direction of the impulse response to reverse. And we want to add a little bit of feedback. Let's add about 5 on the feedback. And once, now you'll hear it. So I'm going to just play a few notes and then listen to the tail. There it goes. We can turn up the impulse response portion of it a little bit too. So let's turn up the mix on just that portion of it. The hall can stay where it is by default, but here. Yeah, so that's pretty badass. All right, that said, that's basically Weird Planetarium. Just it has this style of like, you know, something you would hear in a planetarium, like, you know, the music you would hear in a planetarium where it kind of has a reverb style to it, but it's weird because it comes back and it echoes back to you in reverse. So that was what I was going for. It's really cool. Just again, I love this. Yeah, so really cool. All right, let's do one more. I'm gonna call this Noodle Dragon, and this is a patch I make on any shimmer reverb or anywhere we have some pitch shifting capability. So we're gonna go shimmer reverb, right? And we're gonna do a fifth. So we wanna go a perfect fifth up. Whoops. And then for the second pitch shifting, we want to have an octave down. Let's make sure that's actually shifting. It sounds like it is. Oh, it is. It's just a little on the subtle side. Okay, so let's go octave down. I think we can change that. So now we want to go into the settings. Whoops. Now I just wanted a global. Ah. All right. There we go. There we go. Amount. Oh yeah, we want to turn up the amount. Turn to about 15. Let's see, we want the amount. Oh yeah, sorry. We want to turn up a little bit of feedback. Oh yeah, the feedback loop on this one, we want it to be in the regen loop. I always forget that. All right. Cool. So now we want to bring up the decay in this one. There we go. Sounds really cool with flutes too. Let's do that. Let's bring up the mix a little. We don't want you to turn up the decay too high. Let's turn down the mix a little. I'm just like letting you listen to what it sounds like. We want to bring down the tone a little. And here's where the magic's going to come. We're going to add another algorithm into this, or series into, you guessed it, cloud. All right, turn up the cloud. Let's turn up the modulation. All right, and let's go to the diffusion on the cloud algorithm. Crank it up, like always. Turn the tone down on that too a little. There we go. Bring down the mix a little so it just sits under your sound. A little less. Let's go over to the shimmer portion and turn that down a little too. Let's go back to the cloud, and we can add a little bit of ensemble here, I think. I think this works together with it. It doesn't overpower too much if I remember correctly when I was making this originally. There we go. Yeah, it doesn't. If we add a plucked patch into that, it sounds really cool. Let's go over to cascading flutes again. We're going to try the It's an Oberheim patch too with it because that really sounds cool. Let's turn down the volume a little. It's going to be pretty loud. And it just goes on forever. All right, well, I hope that helps some of you out on some patch ideas for the Big Sky MX. Maybe you just got a Big Sky MX recently and been struggling on how to like fit it into your ambient mix. It's obviously one of the best pedals for ambient music, but a lot of the built-in presets just don't really make it shine for at least what I like to do. And yeah, you just have to really sit down and mess with it. It's pretty powerful without being too complicated. Obviously, you saw we did some menu diving, but a lot of it's just straightforward, and you can get a good sound out of it really easily. So I hope those ideas gave you some inspiration potentially, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. If you haven't subscribed to my channel and you like my content, go ahead and do so. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. All right, bye.